Welcome everybody to our podcast. I'm your host, Cadet Master Sergeant Harden, and today I'm going to be introducing and interviewing Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Owen Bergstrom, and he is going to be the Echo Flight Commander for this encampment. So, say hi, Bergstrom.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to have everybody here on podcast because I like to hear all the different voices, and it's fun meeting new people.
Yeah,
So, would you care to introduce yourself?
sure. My name's Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Owen Bergstrom. I'm from SER MS096. I've been in Civil Air Patrol for about 2.5 years now. In my CAP career, I've served multiple staff positions at my home squadron, ranging from line staff, support staff, and executive staff. I'm interested in meteorology and weather, and I enjoy analyzing weather radar data.
Wow, dude, you have a pretty stacked resume already. So, weather. What made you interested in weather?
I'm not really sure, actually. It's just something that I've just kind of been interested in for the majority of my life. It's just an interesting thing to watch, I guess.
Yeah, true. We all get those phases. I remember I was 6 and I wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that the phase that you never really got out of?
It's something that I've kind of started leaning into a bit more heavily nowadays. But
Here's a question: do you think Civil Air Patrol has helped you in any way to get closer to your goal of being a meteorologist?
there was a time that I was able to lead a class at my squadron about weather radar, and that was a really interesting opportunity to be able to share some of my knowledge with the cadets from my squadron.
Dude, that's cool. I've always wanted to teach a couple lessons, but I think I have to work on my expertise in those skills before I can get on to doing that. So as Echo Flight, flight commander, what is it that you do, and why did you choose to choose that position?
So some of my roles as the Echo Flight Commander include mentoring my flight sergeant, as well as being the best role model I can be for my cadets. It's my responsibility to create our daily goals and provide guidance to my flight sergeant so that we can achieve those goals. I take a look at things in the big picture, and I plan for the future of the flight throughout the encampment. I chose the position because I've had prior experience with the role. In my squadron, I've served as both a flight sergeant and a flight commander. So I'm offering my familiarity with the position so that I can play a part in hopefully making this encampment the best it possibly can be.
Wow. So we were talking earlier, and you said this is your first year staffing, correct?
It is.
So for those who don't know, as a cadet in the Civil Air Patrol, the first year you go to an encampment, you're regarded as a cadet basic, meaning it's your first year attending an encampment. But when you come back your second year, you have the opportunity to come as a cadet staff member. That ranges anywhere from being mess staff, helping cooking, being line staff, leading a flight, or being support staff, working behind the scenes to make sure everything happens. And what you said is that you kind of, as your first cadet staff role, you chose to be a flight commander.
Yeah. On my first time staffing an encampment, I guess you could say I chose to jump off the deep end, and I probably took one of the harder roles that you can take. It's been an interesting experience, but I'm glad to be a part of the program.
So do you feel like there's anything that you've done between last encampment and this encampment that's kind of prepared you for the rigor of being a flight commander?
For the about second half of last year, I was actually serving as a flight commander in my squadron.
Okay.
So I have had experience with multiple different flights of varying degrees of skill level. So I have a general idea of what to expect, how a flight commander is supposed to act, what their responsibilities are. Um, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and like speaking of like, working with like flights of like different different like expertise levels. Um, you know, every year you're gonna have cadets that are like exceptional in some things and cadets that aren't so strong in a certain thing or whatnot. So how do you plan to, as like the flight commander, to motivate and inspire your flight members?
So it's important to help cadets understand why we do what we do, right? So something I'd like to do throughout the week is to help them understand these things, because helping them understand why we do something makes it more relevant to them. If something is more relevant to you because you're doing it often, or it serves a purpose to you, you're going to be more motivated to do that thing. Another thing we plan on doing is pushing the cadets together as a team as soon as we can, because we want to build these team relations as early as possible in the week, so that the cadets are working together, motivating each other, and pushing each other on throughout the encampment.
So are you gonna have like a flight story time? You like gather around a campfire or something, and you just like, hey guys, this is why we do what we do.
Maybe not a campfire, but if like a cadet is struggling with something, we might be able to take them to the side and just kind of explain things to them in a gentle way, not yelling at them, just explaining why we do this so that they have an understanding. So it's not a unfamiliar concept to them.
That's a good method. Would you say that there's like during your basic year, were there any lessons that you learned from like your flight commander and watching him do his job? Like, is there anything that you saw like, hey, I'm definitely like gonna do what he did when I become a flight member, or like I'm definitely not gonna do what he did when I become a flight commander?
I think something that I would like to do is I want to be more involved with the cadets. Not too much, obviously, because an officer is supposed to be a step back. But I feel it's important to show that you care about the cadets and their growth. We're here to help these cadets grow as leaders in the program and provide them with the leadership skills they need throughout their lives. And I think it's important that they know that you are there for them.
That's honestly really important because like we all know like how we felt as a cadet basic. Like I remember I always thought that like somebody was gonna pull like the I outrank you card or something and be like, I don't have to mess with you. But that's really not the case. Like a lot of people think the same way, and I really appreciate that because like as officers have such a big role in like every cadet's like life, especially being like, like a cadet airman. Because you look up to them so much. And I think you doing that will have a profound effect on them.
Yeah. It's just important to be a good role model for them. They need somebody to look up to, somebody to provide them with direction.
So throughout encampment, how do you plan on keeping track of like your flight's progress? Like with like drill and all this other stuff, like emergency services, aerospace, all that jazz.
Well, let's see. By track progress, what do you mean by that?
So I remember during my encampment, um, one of the things my flight really had trouble with was doing column right marches. So, how do you like plan on like, keeping up with like what's your flights good at doing and how you're gonna like help them progress if they're not doing so well in another thing?
Let's see. It's just important to make sure that you're not overbearing. You're not constantly correcting every little thing that they get wrong, but you're not leaving them out to dry either. We give them general direction, but then also we would like to see the cadets helping each other, because we have cadets of lower rank and cadets of higher rank. We want those cadets working together as a team and sharing their knowledge with each other.
Yeah, dude. I remember I had a cadet chief in my squadron. I mean, not squadron, but flight last year, and like it was crazy. Yeah, and so I really agree with that statement. What she said about like having like flight members help each other out because you do make a good point. There's a lot of diversity of the ranks of like the basic cadets. And I feel like helping the cadets helping each other out also builds a sense of camaraderie. I actually have a story from my basic year. Do you know how in the barracks, you have to have like everything like perfect?
Yes.
So my issue was last year at my basic encampment, I couldn't get the hospital corners down. And you know how hospital corners are, right?
Yeah. They can be difficult at first, but if you figure out the proper technique, they're not that bad.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to brush up on that before I get to encampment because they scare me. They scare me. I remember what ended up happening was I asked my fellow flight member if he could help me with my hospital corners. So in the morning, what would happen is I would work on my locker. He'd finish his bed, and I'd politely ask, "Hey man, can you help me with my bed?" Basically, quote quote, "Can you fold my hospital corners for me?" Um, and I feel like we kind of grew closer as like a flight because of that. Because like you're kind of forced to acknowledge that, hey, dude, I'm not like perfect at everything, and other people's strengths compensate for other members' weaknesses, and that kind of builds a sense of teamwork.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to happen. We don't just want to be like, hold your hospital corners right now and then turn around and leave. If we were to do something like that, we want the cadets to be working together as a team. We want them to be leading themselves when we're not present. And
Right.
so those cadets helping each other like that, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, um, definitely. But you have any stories from your basic year? It was like stories that like really made you value the teamwork of the flight.
Um, just I have a similar story to the one that you just gave. Like there were a few cadets in my barrack who had trouble with their hospital corners, and my flight staff would come in and they would ask me, "Can you help? Yeah, can you help the other cadets with their hospital corners?" So it's just little things like that that help the cadets come together as a team
Oh,
that are important.
so you're the one who was good at folding hospital corners.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
the guy that
okay.
everybody came to for their hospital corners.
So you wanna if we end up in the same barracks, you're gonna be folding my hospital corners, right?
Sure.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yes, everyone, thank you so much for having this interview with me. It was a pleasure to get to meet you. It was a pleasure to get to interview you. Everybody that is Cadet Chief Master Sergeant. Oh, I can't be getting my ranks wrong already. Chief Master Sergeant Bergstrom. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.